says it's starting. Cool. We are live. Does somebody want to start us off with the overall story of what's going on?
I'll do it.
Awesome. Thank you.
So from what I understood, Barbara Norris was a nurse as well. She worked in the ER. She worked there for a while, and they had a close-knit group. And then she took an interview to do a managing position in that hospital as nurse manager of BSU. And in the interview, as they decided to take her, they said, "I hope you fix all the problems fast." As we read through, we find out that there's several problems with a lot of the nursing and the staffing. That senior nurses were often highly critical and complained about the junior nurses behind their backs. There was a lot of miscommunication going on, and she took them to an offsite to find out all sorts of problems. And she found out a couple. And it looks like we were ended with basically found the problems. Now what should we do? Right?
Yep. Perfect. Thank you. So first question, what are the root problems that Barbara is facing with her little unit here?
That no one wants to work with it. No one wants to work as a team. They all like talk behind each other's backs, and whenever someone asks for, well, and they've got a bad reputation, so no one really wants to go and work there.
Okay.
I think that's a couple of main problems.
Yeah. So no unity and not a good.
I think another one though is that there's also lack of recognition. There's a lack of praise going on, a lack of candid feedback, and I think a lack of celebration. In a sense of if you were asked, do you guys party enough in your workplace? Not in the sense of like going out, drinking and whatever, but do you guys really just take a time to just celebrate and just have a little work party or something? I remember reading in the book Winning by Jack Welch, and he has a chapter that talks about celebration, and he says, I don't think there's enough celebration going on in the workplace. And if you don't have enough of that, it creates a very tense workspace. And it's an opportunity as well for coworker to get to know coworker, just to kind of release, and also to kind of, just celebrate work, celebrate life and everything. And I don't think that I heard one celebration going on or that has happened at that hospital.
Yeah, that's a good thought. While you were talking, I thought of Dave's comments in his discussion board, how he talked about just, more on a regular basis, just asking the people that you work with how your performance is or what can you do better, or, kind of along that line. So it kind of goes with that. So, because then you're more open to discuss things.
Yeah. Open communication. When I looked at it, I thought of the culture. Overall, the culture is just terrible. I mean, everything fits into one word, culture. And then when all's said and done, the other one that's causing their issues is just their budget constraints. When people can't work overtime, when you get other nurses getting dropped in that don't know what they're doing, and that creates a root cause, a root problem right there of untrained staff, that there's only a matter of time before a lawsuit or something bad's going to happen. And they're not protecting themselves by having untrained people in this department. So if there were more funds, more nurses hired or whatever else, she could alleviate that.
And I think that goes into play with putting the right people in the right areas. So if they had certain nursing positions that just focused on helping those new people, they know that's their only goal, then I think the atmosphere would be a little different, and everybody's would be more of a unit than, I got to do this for this person because they don't know what's going on. I mean, everybody goes through budget constraints, but it's just how are they working together? And I think it all everything ties into each thing. But so we have culture, and I just kind of talked about like the job design, how each specific job is not designed perfectly. What about, I know one of the ladies was kind of frustrated that the job raises, everybody got the same raise, no matter what their performance was like. What do you guys think about that?
Definitely a demotivator.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else that you guys thought you worked on in this group? No. Okay.
The last thing I'd have to say when I was looking through the situation analysis, I think it's almost crossed over to a hostile work environment. It's gotten to that point where there's so much backbiting and infighting. Now that it's been brought to the attention, if they don't put a stop to it, make clear defined rules, and look, this will be part of the solution issue. But the root problem is with that hostile environment, they're not in a good place.
Yeah, I agree. So, so what do you guys think of Barbara Norris? How do you think she's doing so far as the nurse manager?
I think she should have took her mentor's advice.
And not taking the job.
This is a difficult situation at best, and to being a new manager to try to unravel that mess. She's in for a tall order, right? So but she's in it now, so she's got to figure it out. I think it's kind of interesting that these case studies go along with kind of the reading that we're doing in the books as well. I don't know if you noticed our case studies kind of line up with that, but looking at some of those things that we are reading in the book about what it takes to be a functional team, she can apply that, and really the article that went along with this about team motivation. Right, they're a highly unmotivated team, and how can you change that around? And I think they had those 4 really good points in that document for that article that she can address.
Yeah. So as far as what she's done so far, what do you think she's done good? What do you think she's done bad? I mean, I know there wasn't very much information as far as what she's done, but she's calling the offsite meeting. What do you guys think about that? Is that a good thing?
I liked that just because, like, it said in the case that whoever was in her position before didn't really keep very good records. So I don't know. It just goes to show that she's like really trying to get down to what the problems are. Because she just knows that everyone kind of hates each other and won't work together, but she doesn't really know why. So I think the group meeting, it got out of hand, but I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, she definitely wasn't prepared for that meeting.
Yeah.
She wasn't prepared for the brutality. I think she's on the right track, though, by having even 30 days in, they typically say you're supposed to give it a few weeks to at least evaluate and figure out. So she's done that. Now it's her chance to either make decision and make changes, cut people loose, do something different. But she had to get to that point where she understood the department before she could start telling them what to do. And now she's at wit's end. So it's up to her to decide, and look, she needs resources to make this fix. It's not just going to happen overnight, but I think she can do it.
Yeah. So did you guys get any changes that she's trying to make right now?
I didn't get any, actually. From what I saw is that she was just now finding out what the problems were, which to me is like, I don't know. It says that she's worked at the hospital for a long time already. And if she didn't know what a lot of the problems were, it kind of is like, yeah, I understand that she was working in a certain section of the hospital, but like she had to have picked up some sort of irregularity that was going on. I know half of the solution is knowing the problem. So that's great that she went in there and that she went to find the problem. But like, I still haven't, I feel like it's not giving us this information on purpose, like what her next plans were. But like, all I said was, she had 3 main problems that were brought up. Megan brought up the issue that she's being talked about behind her back as a new nurse. Jennifer said that yearly salary increases aren't fair. And Louise got up and complained about herself and basically how hard her own job is. And so, I mean, all I would have done is I would have sat down and I said, okay, you three come in, meet with me kind of thing individually, and we'll go over what kind of problems are presented to you. And
Yeah.
I mean, with the yearly increase thing, you can only do so much. You have to then bring that up to higher management and get them to fix that, because that's not something that you can just do, because she doesn't even have any control of the funds, it looks like.
So you know, she did offer some things at the end of her offsite. You know, she talked about being transparent in some of the actions that they should take going forward. But you know, that's where it stopped. Is, you know, she had a list of these predefined items, but it, you know, it was interesting. You know, she didn't just have one-on-ones with just those 3 people, but you know, what was it? The second day on the job, she got 29 different requests for one-on-ones with each member of the staff by the staff member.
This is a bunch of complainers.
Well, yeah.
Well, that, and it just shows that everybody is nobody's talking with each other, because they want to be the first one in there to talk about their problems. They're not.
Yeah, and I think with that though, it would have took so much time to do 29 individual meetings, and she had the right mindset. We got to get them all to sit down, because you can't do 29, you know, meetings in a little bit of time. I mean, you still have reviews and stuff you got to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So next question: what are 3 obstacles to affecting change Nora should anticipate, and how should she address them?
Money. She's going to have to get with the board and the directors. She's got to figure out either to make the pay scale right, if they can't, get more nurses in there, or alleviate the overtime restrictions. I mean, she's got to make a good case of why her department needs a specialized request, or just reallocate resources. I mean, even if you're in a hiring freeze, that doesn't mean they can't transfer some of those nurse pools over, or permanent people over, into her department if her department's short-staffed and it's causing problems.
So do you think that's where they need to start?
I think yes and no, because the main thing is, like, it's understaffed because it's a poor business right now. If they were back at how they were, funds wouldn't be as much of a problem. So it's the people that need to change, but that's also an obstacle, that she can't make people change. And it's the other obstacle is that it's going to take time. And if those people aren't willing to change, you've got to let them go. They're just not helping. See, and that's my case, Ben, when it ties right into it, right? Since the business is doing bad, doctors have stopped using this general GSU unit because they're arguing with the nurses. If you argue with a nurse and you're trying to do a procedure, you're not going to go back there again. You're going to find a different hospital in a better location. So they need to completely change everything. And some people are going to have to let go. And she can't let people go if there's a hiring freeze in place, because then she just put herself in a worse place. So the board has to get on of alleviating a few things. I think that she definitely has to build a case, because I think the board is just freezing it, but they have no reason to unfreeze it. Yeah. So she has to say, look, I've got all these guys I got to let go. And if I don't let them go, we're going to continue in a downward spiral. But if I let them go and get other people to replace them, same funds, but just kind of cycling people out, then I would say, yeah.
Well, on top of that, like, there had been like 7 nurses or something that had left in the last 7 months. Yeah. And so if you have a rate like that, you're not going to have enough people to work. And I don't know, my mom's a nurse, and she says that, like, sometimes those days that there's only a couple of them there are just brutal, especially when they get a ton of patients and whatnot. And so, like, I can only imagine that if they're not allowed to work any overtime, or there's not enough patient or not enough staff there and a ton of patients, like, I could understand why these nurses would get frustrated. Now, I don't know if that constitutes that they should be talking about each other behind their backs, but I could understand why it's getting frustrated. So I think they need to figure out a way to get nurses in there, which can be an obstacle with the money aspect right now.
question I have is those 7 people knew what they were getting paid and they got hired, and to leave 7 months behind or after, I think it's more than just the pay. I think it's more the people in there and how no one gets along. I think being in a company that you feel as a unit, you feel unified, you're gonna stick things out more. But if you're just gonna be miserable the whole time you're there, you're gonna leave no matter what the pay is. So I think, this is me, I think that there needs to be a better atmosphere, you know, more unity, more help all around the board as far as.
Have you guys seen the movie Gridiron Gang?
Yeah.
Okay, I just watched that after I read this thing about, you know, it's all about those juveniles who they just have nowhere to go, and after they leave, you know, juvenile prison, they end up coming back or dying, going back into gangs, like 70% of them. So one of the prisons ended up, you know, making a football team with all those juveniles, and they had them play against other high school teams, and the rate of those kids coming back was like 5% of the kids that were coming back to the prison instead of 70. And so like, you know, that was like a huge increase. And the reasoning why was because they had a team, they had people to live for, they had something that was motivating them. They were just, you know, together. And even though their situation sucked, and like, you know, football in and of itself is a hard sport, they kept to their brotherhood. You know, they didn't get into fights when they were at the prison. They didn't, because they knew if they got into fights, they weren't going to be able to play football. And so they began to make decisions for the team and for the better of it, because there was a lot of rivalries and such, but the team members began to bond. And I feel like that's the same in workplaces. You have teams at work, and once you start unifying one with another, you really don't want to leave. You know, if you've never made that connection though, and you're just suffering day after day, like these nurses were, then yeah, I'd be out of there too.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
See, and I think the last point of things that they need to fix is they just need the reward system. Look, if she can't get the board to bite off on things or anything else, they still have, you know, nurses of the week, nurses of the month. I mean, someone was telling me about a competition that they run in their different departments, that each one of the nurses gets to nominate, though, you know, the person that's most helpful, and they get a small reward, whether it's $25, $50 gift card. It doesn't have to be much. It doesn't even have to be monetary, but it's some kind of recognition, something for them.
Yep, and that's all building the unity and the morale around there. Yeah, great suggestions. So let's devise an action plan for her.
Okay, here's what I did. Let's see.
Off of what we've already said.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought of, and again, you would have to get through like HR or whatever to be able to hire new nurses, but Barbara's been in the industry for quite some time, and so she's got to know some experienced nurses that aren't going to put up with any crap. And so I was thinking like she could reach out to them and see if they wanted to jump on board, or if they knew any nurses that they think could, and try to reach out to them. That way, if you get like a strong core of nurses in there, then hopefully you'd be able to solidify the team. And then if you did have 1 or 2 nurses that are still kind of, you know, causing problems or whatever, just let them go. That's what I thought of.
I think one of it too, sorry, is the older nurse that just, you know, Luis, that got up and complained. I'm almost like ready to already let her go.
Yeah.
And kind of show, hey, look, I don't care if you're seniority or what. You know, the girl that came in here a year ago is putting in more work than you, and all you do is complain and bring everybody down. And so I think you need to kind of set a tone that this is how it's going to be. And if no one can keep up to these standards that I've set, I don't care how long you've been here.
See, and I think we're all missing, if you're putting together an action plan, right? The first and foremost she has to do is she's got to bring her boss up to speed and try and schedule a meeting with the board. So either her boss takes it to the board, or her boss lets her present to the board and just get them on board with all the changes that are about to happen. You know, she has to make her case from top to bottom to them. Hey, we're planning on letting a few people go. I need to transfer some people in. I need to create a ward program. I need to set the, you know, need this, need that, have all this, lay her case study out. And I said, if you don't, then it's just going to keep costing you money, and our hospital is going to keep doing one of these. So show the financial repercussions or financial gain that can be had of it, turn it to dollar and cents. And most time you can get people behind you.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Chris, were you saying something?
I
I
was
think
thinking-
cut you off. Or sorry, Liz too.
I don't know who is next.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I think she needs to make some rules between the team members. Like they shouldn't be able to put each other down, or or just have like a set of rules, a foundation of rules that they have to follow. Because it seems like that's kind of part of it. Is they're kind of expecting each other to help each other, but they're not really to put in the effort to help each other because they're being overworked at the same time. So I don't know. I feel like having a set of rules to where they're supposed to treat everyone kindly or something like that would just kind of help things run a little bit smoothly.
Yeah, I would agree. It goes back to building the culture. If you go back to the article went along with this, it listed those. I think everybody's touched on a few pieces of a reward system. So whether that's monetary or attaboys, building on the culture, job design, set some parameters around what the expectations are for the different roles, and being transparent on what's going on. I think I listed in one of the things here is, one of the possibilities of getting additional staff replaced on her team is actually going back to that nurses floater pool and just try to see if she can get some floaters transferred over full time. It's a net zero add to the hospital. It's just moving from one group to another, instead of being just go here, go there. I can augment my staff with these nurses, and now they'll get specific training into what their processes are.
I think that's a good idea too about the whole floaters, because again, my mom a lot of times she'll get people from different departments that like don't know what to do in their certain department, and so sometimes it slows them down. So I think what you're saying, Chris, if they were able to train them so that they could get up to speed and know what to do, that would greatly help as well.
Yeah. And that article I remember reading about how, we as natural human beings already have kind of a competitive nature. So with these nurses just going there and working, never socializing or anything like that, all they know is competitiveness. And once you break that mold, once you break them down to be understanding that they're all human, then I think that will kind of help with what Elizabeth was talking about, and how everybody just kind of backbites everybody and talks bad about them. Definitely more activities need to go on. Cool. Does anybody have anything else to add?
I still want to emphasize they need to have a party. They need one.
I think that's a good idea.
They need to lighten the mood somehow.
Well, the only thing, my recommendations for them were basically the same thing you guys already talked about. And of course, I came a few minutes late, so I don't know what was discussed before that. But the only thing that I had that wasn't said is like, I recommended there being like a mentor system for like an experienced nurse with a new nurse, so they could learn the role, and it should foster some camaraderie as well.
Yeah,
I like that, because you could also do some sort of volunteer hours instead of like, because they know you can't do overtime like paid wise, but if you're inexperienced or don't know what to do, maybe they could let you do volunteer hours like shadowing people. Not like offering it, but at the sense, if you want to, you can come in and help out. I know that not everybody likes to work for free, but when it's in a place where the business needs, kind of that push, you'll find that people will put in for the long run,
I'm a person that I've never worked for free. I highly suggest not doing it. It's a bad method of supporting a family. But what I would say is, it goes back to the focus, right? Of looking at now versus the long term. And I'm sure you work in companies where it's always a firefight, and all they can do is focus on what the need is today. But if she can develop this action plan and set up the jobs where it's not just focused on today, but you make time for what you need to do down the road. And so making time for a mentorship with the younger nurses is a priority, right? And if you set that at the top of the house and say, hey, this is a priority because eventually you will be gone and I need somebody, these other individuals to come up to speed and have the same level of experience. But yeah, I would never ask anybody to work for free.
It'd be hard. Unless there's something for them in the long run, but that's a good point. Okay. So talking about the 4-drive theory, and this kind of has already gone with what we've talked about, but how do you think their department, the GCU, how do you think their what do you think is the worst part of their system? The reward system, the culture system, their job design, their performance management system? Which one do you think needs to be top of their priority? And why?
Oh, I would say it'd have to be the bond or the culture. I think that needs probably the largest problem is figuring out how to get them to work as a team instead of 29 individuals.
Yeah, I think you're right, Chris, because you look at it, all the rest of the departments throughout the hospital are basically running under the same resources and they don't have the same issues.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're the only one that has that drawback. So start with the culture and
yes,
go from there. Okay, cool. Anybody else have anything to say? No. I know we're supposed to be an hour, but I think 30 minutes is good.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't much else. Like if they had given us, maybe 2 more pages to read.
I'm not complaining.
And I'm surprised because it doesn't tell us any more story about what.
What she did.
Yeah, I was hoping to have something, but
I almost thought that it was just all theoretical. Then that's what it made me think.
Yeah. I was talking about last week's fishing trip or boating trip or whatever that was.
Now that we can see you and see how angry and flustered you actually were.
Yes.
He never got his whiskey. That was the issue.
Well, if we would have known the water was good in the first place, then that would have been out the door.
I've still been looking for how to make a pot and stuff out of duct tape because I know that you can with a cup of water. I've seen it been done, but it's like a manufactured cup, right? It's not that you had paper laying around and decided to make a cup and then you could boil stuff. And so I'm like, yeah, if you had a manufactured cup, like the harder papered ones, like
you can do it with a paper bag.
What?
You can do it with a paper bag.
Well, I mean, that's still like manufactured though. Like, I'm just thinking, like that's something that you have to like get, and then it's already put together. But I don't know. Just the whole like a paper bag, it's got to be like 10 paper bags because if it's just one paper bag, you just hold water and see how long it lasts. That's
And look, guys, I still argue that one. You have to boil for 10 minutes for water to be pure, and you can't do that in any kind of paper cup. It'll boil over, and as soon as it boils, it catches fire.
I don't know. It's said to be done. I've seen the paper and the duct tape one. Just I can't get my head wrapped around it. It's got to be like the whole flip and roll for like this little bowl thing, and I don't know.
And that's where the whiskey bottle comes in play.
That's why I think this is a very good idea because you can just use the bottle and cook it up.
Yeah.
Exactly. Put water there. Put your little tab in there. You got it measured. You're good to go.
Yeah. Well, sorry for being the argumentative one that brought it down last week, guys. I'll take my heat on that one.
I'll take my
We don't need that kind of stuff, I guess. So.
Hey, well, they say, like in the book, it's good to have constructive arguments, right? So I think we're doing good.
Yep. That's good. Great. Well, next week we don't have anything, and I believe, Chris, you're going to take the 13th week?
Yeah, I'll do 13th week, final week.
Boom, baby.
Awesome.
Can you believe it's almost done?
I know.
I know, it's been pretty quick.
It's crazy.
Crazy.
Seems like only yesterday.
Bittersweet.
Makes me want to sing a country song.
With your whiskey.
Empty whiskey.
Isn't that the ward missionary leader over there, right? With the whiskey? Yeah. You got to bond with him to get him convert.
Exactly. Got to get him drunk a little bit.
So how do you like 11-year-old scouts, Dave?
I've been in scouting most of the time. You know, you're scouting your bishoprics a long time. So this one's tough just because I stepped into this role and it's been a non-functioning scout troop. So we've got boys that are leaving within a month or 2 months and they're not even a scout yet. So
wait,
exactly.
What about the church isn't even behind it? It's not even a calling anymore. So how does it like?
Yeah,
they are.
11-year-old scouts and deacons are still scouts.
Oh, you're right. 11-year-old. You're right.
Yep,
You're right.
Yep. So yeah, still fully behind it, still fully behind the program. So the object is I have to have them first class by the time they leave. So right now it's going to be crazy trying to get them caught up. But once we're caught up and new boys coming in, I think we'll be in good shape. And I enjoy it. So
man, you just got to be their best friend. Because I remember when I went to scout camp, I had that one leader that said, you can have no fun here and you have to come out with 9 merit badges. And he was at the end of it, he's like, you have to be like happy about it because you look back on this moment and say, I got 9 badges, whereas I could have had 6. And I was like, yeah, no, never thought that once. Never do.
No, I let the boys set it. It's a boy-led troop. We've already got a patrol leader I had put in. They've already decided what the activities are, everything else. So it's running like it's supposed to. It'll be a good time.
That's good.
Ben, remember that for fatherhood, your advice.
Remember, 9 badges instead of 6. 9.
There is a balance. Can't be all fun and games.
No.
Yeah.
That's a
they're
bummer.
not perfect.
I'll tell you what. So when I was 11-year-old scout, they had 11-year-old scout night at scout camp. So we'd get to go up for a night during scout week. And our scout master for the 12 of the deacons, he wouldn't show. He wasn't there. It was a mess. He says, "Oh, you guys just handle my 13 other deacons until I get up there." And they were climbing 50 feet up in the trees at our campsite, swinging off the rafters, and I told the bishop afterwards, I said, don't ever make me go back to scout camp with the deacons. I won't do it.
Not worth it.
You just got to bring a paintball gun with you.
And scout rules. There's your no fun for you, Ben. Although I have taken my priests off the record paintballing before, so
I think slingshots are good. You can put the paintball in the slingshot, hurts just as much.
Oh, nice. Cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody for all your discussion, and I'll get this posted and good luck with it the rest of the week.
sounds good. Thanks, guys. See you in a couple of weeks.
Have a great night.
All right.